Hi everybody, right? So this is going to be a quick video, right, sharing about my biggest insights, right, and notes from the entire $100 million leads, right, system, right, the book, the course, right, the audiobook, right, the event, right, from the legendary Alex Hormozi, right, and I'm just sharing this because not only is it used for myself, right, to internalize my learning further, how to help more people out there, right, to actually use the strategies learned, right, because what I realized that a theory, right, is not just information, right, it's about how you actually implement it, apply effectively into our own lives, as well, right? So if not, right, let's get started. So a couple of things is, if you don't want to find out more about me and what do I do, right, you can go and click on these few links, right, one-to-one coaching call, right, or right, if you want to attend my free masterclass, right, to find out more about how I can help current and future entrepreneurs to make an extra, right, at least an extra $2,000 to $5,000 per month, just 90 days, right? So usually for side hustlers or entrepreneurs who are starting up. All right, so if not, let's get started. So a quick introduction, right? So again, if you do not know by now, right, Alex Hormozi is someone that took the world by storm in the past 2 years, right? He released the book $100 million Offers, right, which was for I think 99 cents, now it's $1.99, right? Got a lot of people to join, right? And what happened was, in this second book, he launched an event, and he had more than 500,000 people registered and about 100,000 people actually turned up live. And so after the event, there was a huge buzz, right, in the whole business, internet marketing space, because how he structured the presentation, right, was people actually thought he was going to charge something, right? But in the end, he gave it all out completely for free. So I think it was a freaking amazing, right, what he did. And so in this document, right, I'll be sharing with you my entire observations, my biggest insights of what how we could learn, right, apply to our own businesses, our own side hustles, right. And so please note that this sharing, right, is not a blind summary, right, and this just my biggest note, my insights. And if you want to watch the entire training, right, or read his whole book, please go and do so. I put a link over here for you as well. Okay, so very quickly, right, what he mentioned, right, was why lead generation. And if you guys are watching this, right, I think most of you would know, right, the importance of lead generation for income, for sales, or revenue, right. But I think one thing that stood out to me, right, is that if we focus on it enough, right, to the point where we automate or systemize it, it's like you have unlimited hits, right, or unlimited tries for you to get your business right, your offer right, product right. So I think he just enhanced the importance of why consistent lead generation is so important, right, and also reminded to me, right, that hey, I'm probably not spending enough time on it, right, because I've always been focused on like my client results, right, my system optimization, but sometimes I do forget the main priority of my business, which is to grow my cash flow, grow my revenue, grow my sales, right, and so most of us probably not spending enough time on it. So the last section over here, I will share, right, a bit about the implementation checklist that he has mentioned in the book. Okay, so yeah, so again, right, one thing I also realized that in this entire book or the course, most of the things he shared might not be completely new, right? It might be a refinement or he actually simplifies a lot of the strategies that a lot of other marketing gurus or strategists talk about, but he did enhance it a little bit further, right? And so it's very easy when you read the book to be like, I know this already, right? This is something I watched, right? But what helped me a lot, right, was asking, instead of asking myself, do I know this, right, is number one, how can I apply this if I've not applied it before? Or number two, right, is how can I potentially apply this better, right? So there's some things I've already been doing, right, based on what I shared, but the question is not about have I done it, it's also about how can I apply this better, right, to my own business and my own life as well. Okay, another great way, right, to maximize this, assuming you have done some of these strategies already, right, is to ask these 4 questions as shared by Hormozi. How can you do it more? How can you do it even cheaper? How can you even do it better, or how can you do it more reliably as well, right? So with that, right, I'm going to share a very, very quick introduction myself, right, before I go on to the meat, right, of this entire video. Okay, so for those moments, right, so I'm Mark, I'm founder of Master Mentors, right. I started to help this entire business to help both future and current entrepreneurs to achieve a multiple six-figure income fulfilling income with less time, stress, and effort. And I realized the reason why I'm doing this is because I found out that a lot of people are wasting their hard-earned money, their time, their effort, right, attending seminars, courses, programs, but they're not getting results they want. And I realized that at the end of the day, it's not just about information, right? It's about this word called implementation, one of my favorite words. And after applying some of the concepts I share with a lot of my private clients, right, my workshops, my free content, right, I was able to achieve some amazing stuff, right? Fortunately, right, I was the number one affiliate in Asia for Tony Robbins for his business blueprint program. I was a growth marketer for 2 7-figure companies from 2018 to 2020, and I also built a multiple 6-figure coaching business. Of course, I'm aiming for 7, right? And I achieved, fortunately, a 6-figure income for 4 years running. And so by sharing all this valuable content, I hope you not only consume whatever I'm sharing, but to implement it as well. Okay, so if not, let's get started. So I'm running the overall introduction, right, to lead generation. For simplicity's sake, right, a lead, so this is his definition, right? A lead is simply someone you can contact. So that's a lead. All right, but what Hormozi defines, right, as someone he wants to reach out to is an engaged lead. So on some level, right, they've expressed interest in working with you, right, whether it's downloading a link magnet, responding to your offers, right, going on one-to-one call with you, for example, right. And the focus of this book and course is not to just increase the number of contacts you have, right, but the amount of engaged leads that you have. And so the most foundational portion is how Alex presents what he calls the core four, right? The four main ways you can generate leads, either through warm outreach, right? That means people that you already know, right? So that's warm. Cold outreach, that means reaching out to people directly with people you do not know, right? Maybe emails, calls, ads, right? Which is one to many on a core audience. That means running ad advertisements, right? And of course, content, right? That means sharing with a lot of people in terms of the content they do so. Okay, so the next section, right? Second section of this, the book or the course, right, is about finding what I call lead getters, right? So finding people who can generate leads for you. So this one you can do it by yourself. But eventually, right, for you to get a lot of what I call leverage, right, to really scale up your business or your income, right, is to find people in these four categories to help you do these four things. It can be maybe of referrals, right, employees, right, that means salespeople, marketing appointment setters, right, agencies, right, that means they are actually paid to do a service for you, or affiliates and partners, right. So at the end of the day, right, all it is, right, for you to make the money you want, right, to generate, number one is to do the core four. Eventually you get enough money to do this four itself, and then to just run it over and over again. All right, so this is just the core basics, right? Again, I don't want to share the two basic stuff or the tactic, all the different tactics, right? When you check out the book yourself, but just sharing my own top insights and notes for the rest of this document. So do enjoy. So the first insight I got, right, is obviously the amount of value, right? The importance of giving value, right, in today's world. And again, information is free, right? So the first quick concept, right, in terms of giving as much value as you can, is just his explanation on lead magnets. Right, so most of you, right, in your business marketing world, you should know what's a lead magnet already, right? Something I've also used to generate thousands of leads for myself, my company, my clients already, right? But I think one thing that really stood out, and this is something that I need to work on, is that his definition of lead magnet is should be a complete solution to a narrow problem, right? Whereas for me, right, I usually like to do a lot of broad ideas, broad strategy. Even like what I'm doing right now, it's a very broad thing, right? Lead strategies, notes, right? But what I realized that works very well, right, to transit over from potentially someone getting a lead magnet to buying from you is to have a complete solution. That means to go very deep into have a great solution into a narrow problem. So for example, for property agents, right, it can be a valuation guide of their house, right, or 8 steps on how they can increase, right, the perceived value of their house, right? So it's a very narrow problem, right? And then if you solve those problems, right, they realize that, hey, there actually are other problems to solve. Where is it posting on different job portals, right? Is it negotiating buyers, taking note of the legal fees? And so if you're able someone to provide value already, they're more likely to buy from you after because you build some trust with them and you've helped them to solve their problem, right? And so the first step just to create, right, the lead magnet is by picking a problem that is narrow and meaningful, right? Specific problem to solve, right? And right, making sure that it's meaningful, there's something that they actually want solved in the first place. Okay, so another quick tip, right, I also got out, right, and this is a great reminder for myself, is to make sure that to add as much value as possible to your lead magnet. So don't try to make it very on the surface, right, very fluff, conceptual, but not so much value, right, but try to add in as much stuff as possible. And this is one of the quotes I love, right, that he mentioned, which is to give the information, sell the implementation. You can give as much as you can, and then for people to buy from you, right, you can actually help them to apply it even better, to have more intimacy with them, right, to help them to take a bit more action, right? And so if people don't buy from you, right, because if your stuff is good enough, right, even for people to buy from you, they might share the word, right, to create a massive word of mouth such that you are great, right, that you are great at what you do, and they get more potential buyers down the road. Okay, and unfortunately what I realized in the industry is that a lot of people spend more time selling and promoting a lead magnet rather than providing something of value. So for example, for this, for my post to promote this, right, probably took maybe about 3 minutes to write it, but to create this, right, probably take about 10 to 20 hours at least, right, consuming and reflecting, right, and then writing it down, and of course shooting this video also. Okay, next thing, right, for lead magnet is again another reminder, right, so this is something most of you will know, right, is that even if your lead magnet can be the best in the world, the offer can be best in the world, if people don't know much about it, right, you also don't add value. So you want to make sure that your headline is something that's extremely attractive, and the easiest way to do it, right, is to just poll and ask people what they feel the titles are the best. Right, so an additional point of view, right, it creates some level of anticipation and a pre-launch for lead magnet too, and there'll be more details below in one of the concept. Okay, so the other one, right, is again in terms of adding as much value as possible, right, because my favorite quote again, right, you can have everything in life, just help enough other people get what they want. So this is about proving value. So, these are just power posting scripture content. Here's some tactics, right, which I won't cover here, right, but basically, right, I think the mindset shift, right, that helped me a lot was that whenever you post a piece of content, yes, it might disappear over a couple of days, but the thing that is left, the impact they create, right, it's not just the content itself, right, but it's about the goodwill, right, the trust, the beliefs, the feelings that you provide to your audience, that they remember you for a long period of time, right? So for example, for me, a lot of my clients that join me, right, it's also because they have consumed a lot of my content for maybe months or even years for some of them, right? And then when they join me, right, it was not because of that one sales call, that one workshop, that one pro. It's because they've got so much value from me, right, for such a long time, right, they do trust me enough to actually give me money, right, in return for the value I will provide them. Okay, so the lesson is every piece of content, right, creates goodwill, right, which can result in new followers, more audience as well. So if you want more audience, right, at the end of the day, right, Alex Hormozi actually paid, I think, about $50,000 USD, right, to learn from Grant Cardone, right, the founder of 10X, right? And the biggest lesson is just basically post more. Instead of once per day, why not once every hour, right? It can be a bit crazy, but the more valuable content you create, the more followers you can get, the more goodwill you can get, and it helps you so much as well. Okay, a quick shift, right? So for anyone who might be starting out a little bit new, you're a bit afraid of what people might say about you, right? And I get it, right? Sometimes it can be scary. So I think the strategy, which is, instead of just saying, in terms of like talking down to people, just giving advice directly, just share the perspective of what you would do, what you did, or your own observation, insights, and stories. So you're not coming from a space of I'm better than you, right? But from what you have done, and that's a very good, interesting way to shift, right, your content, right, such that it doesn't become like too much of giving advice or talking down to people as well. Alright, so make it more personal, right? So it also makes it more unique to you. That's why I don't like a lot of ChatGPT posts, which is very generic and bland. And so no one can, because you're trying to posture or trying to fake your expertise, but you're sharing what already your thoughts or your perspectives. Okay. Another thing that I mentioned I thought was pretty useful was what I call the give-ask ratio. That means, yes, you can ask for the sale, right? Obviously, the idea is that you never ask. You wait for people to ask you, right? How they can pay you money, right? But for some people, yes, right, timeline, deadlines, right, thing. So all you have to do is just to make sure you give, right, almost as much, or no, not as much, give way more than you ask, right? So for example, right, for every 10 pieces of content you create that's of value, you can share one piece of content to promote offer. So that is an intermittent way of asking. The other way of what I call integrating, right, your ask is basically you can put your ask, right, to promote your offer, your services, right, at the end of the content. So there's different way of how you want to promote it. Okay. So that's about content. Power of anchoring and expectation setting, right? So I think the main lesson, right, if you watch the event, right, was that he got a lot of coverage, a lot of people talking about him, social media buzz, right, after the event. And it would have happened if, of course, at the start of the event, he was like, hey guys, I'm going to give you all for free. What he did, right, was that he used this thing called the Russell Brunson's perfect webinar script, right, that is very well known for selling thousands or millions of dollars of programs and workshops. And what he did, he used that script for his presentation, for his event, making people kind of expect or wonder, is he going to sell me something? Right? And so when present, and also at the same part, right, there's this thing called the value stack, where he was stacking all the value of all the different things he was providing, right? And he was trying to say, hey, by the way, guys, all the things I'm going to sell you, I'm going to provide you, is going to be worth way more, right, than $10,000. And so by creating, right, the potential expectation that be selling a program and communicating how valuable it is, right, I was really prepared to pay for the cost, right? But when he finally announced it was free, people lost their minds, right? And some people were commenting how they were crying and stuff. So it's a bit crazy lah. So I guess a great question is, right, whether you're offering something free or paid, how can you communicate such that the value of everything you're providing, right, how do you set expectations and make it so freaking amazing so that when you finally announce the offer, right, people are like, holy crap, that's amazing, right? Doesn't mean I give free, because I get that people need to monetize and stuff, right? But how can you make it such that, how can you set expectations, right, such that you can really surpass it, right, when you do present offer? Okay, so that's insight. So again, when it comes to giving value, it's not just about providing a lot of value, but about selling the value as well. Okay, so this is number 2, right? This is about maximizing the event, right? So there's this thing called the whisper, tease, shout, right, portion. And so this one is a simple strategy I feel anyone can use here in your business, your side hustle, your services. But the most important criteria is this, right? So whenever you launch an event offer, right, is that you want to prepare and do the work ahead of time. You want to plan in advance as much as possible to make sure it's successful. And this is something for me, right, to learn as well, which is because I like to do things on the spot. I'm a little bit more impromptu that way, right? But I think one thing is if I want to maximize a lot of my results moving forward, I do have to plan a lot more in advance, which is what Alex was talking about. Okay, so a very easy way, right, to do is, for movies with teaser trailers, right, 1 year in advance, right, that's creating a lot of anticipation, right, tends to do a lot better, because it's like, it's a bit like you're having a drama, right? It's like you're creating a drama, right? And then if I just end off the drama with great satisfaction, the end of the story, right, the likelihood of people watching the next one might be lower as compared to at the last few minutes of the drama, I create a new tension, I create a new storyline, right? And then I make them look forward to watching the next one, right? So this is just very similar in terms of whisper, tease, and shout. So whisper just means during this period, right, you can just hint that you'll be launching something, right? Remember to keep those messages short. So it's about building curiosity. So don't talk too much about it, right? When you are hinting something. So you can share behind the scenes of making a product too, right? That's part of it. And so for Hormozi, he was already sharing this book, this second book, right, 2 years in advance. And this simply because the longer something appears to take, the more an audience will value it. And so by slowly building the anticipation and curiosity, you're increasing the desire for audience to access whatever it offer, right? So his recommendation, of course, you don't have to go and follow to the T, right? To start whispering at least every 4 to 6 weeks until you get about 60 days out, right? Then whisper every 2 to 3 weeks until you get about 30 days out, and then move on to the next stage, right? So again, you don't have to follow exactly the number of days and stuff, right? Just realize that creating a bit of anticipation every now and then can create a bit more desire for whatever you have to offer, and you can even do it for your clients as well, right? To get them to be more excited with working with you. Okay, so next one, right, is what we call tease, right? So this is when you announce the details of the book, the launch. So you finally launch the details of the event, right, or the date where your program, right, will start off, be offered to the public. And during this period, you can offer a sneak preview by sharing valuable content insights related to your launch, right? So you should constantly remind them about the details and benefits of the launch, right? Because guess what, people forget. You want to just constantly hammer it over and over again. So very basic tactic, right, he used was to basically share that he'll be providing incentive for anyone who stays to the end of the event, right? So it's a very basic, but I realize a lot of people don't use it, even myself, right? And so this is a prime example, right? There are a lot of people actually do know this, but they don't. So for example, for anyone who will stay to the end of the event, right, for Hormozi's event, I think you get a free of his 100 million journals book, which, I mean, value-wise, I guess okay, right, as compared to the book, but it was, again, something that people really wanted. So here, Hormozi suggests start teasing out about once per week until about 14 days out, and then at least twice a week until 3 days out, right? And then about 3 days out, then it's time for you to finally start shouting, right? Which is to make it a bit more obvious that you're doing an event. So shouting, right, just means that you're constantly reminding your audience of the main call to action you want your audience to take to register for the event, right? The waiting list for the offer launch, so on and so forth. So here you're going to share audience whatever elements you have included in the launch to make it more attractive, share the bonuses, scarcity, urgency, what is your intent. So you just make it as obvious as possible, right? So very important, right, note to here, right, is that while you're shouting, right, you don't want to stop giving value. You want to give the value at the same time. So do it both concurrently. Still give a lot of value, right? And so it's eventually more important to do it because you might get some new followers and audiences who might not trust you enough, right? And so at least when you push up the level of content, right, they are more likely to want to buy from you or to at least to register for whatever you're trying to promote. Okay, so here, right, about twice a day, right, about 3 days before the event, right, you can do it about twice a day. On a day, you can start shouting every few hours and then shout every 30 minutes until you launch the product. Okay, all this while you're providing lots of value. Okay, so that's the whisper, tease, shout method that I'm going to use it for my own programs as well. Okay, so insight number 3, right, very quickly, is what we call implementation above information, right? And this is one of my favorite quotes, right, which is you do have information overload, you have implementation underload, right? So what's not mentioned in the book, of course, something that stood out to me, right, was that he spends very little time consuming content, right? Right, and so instead, most of his learning comes from just taking action in the real world and just learning through life experiences and feedback from the market and direct mentors, right? And to him, that's the fastest way they can learn instead of just consuming a lot of content or books. He does it at times, but he doesn't do it very excessively. So just another reminder for me, right, that yes, I love learning, I love reading, right? But the best way of learning is just through life experiences and maybe direct feedback from mentors, and that's why I've invested more than $100,000 of mentors by now, right? And this is something I'm very unashamed of talking about. So something he shares near the end of the book, right, which I feel that be really useful, is a rule of 100. So all you can do simply is to advertise, promote your stuff by doing 100 primary actions, right, per day, right, for 100 days in a row. By doing so for 100 days, you are guaranteed to get more leads, more potential buyers, more sales, more income, right? And so this is what he calls the rule of 100. So for example, warm up reach, right, 100 reach outs per day, right? That means message 100 people, right? Post content, right, 100 minutes every day, right? Posting content, right? Cold reach outs, 100 reach outs per day, right? Additional to use automation as well, that helps, or paid ads, right? 100 minutes per day making paid ads, right, as well. Okay, so if you want to take the next level, another way of thinking of implementation is what I call the open to goal rule. This means instead of having a fixed time, I can say, okay, my take is if when I achieve this goal, then I'll stop taking action for the day. It simply means to get work until you get a job is done. So there are different ways of how you want to approach it. Both is fine, right? Depends on your context and your preferences. So instead of the idea of doing your best, it just means to do what is required. And a few tips he mentioned about taking action, right? Waking up early, right? So you have more free time so that nobody disturbs you, right? Getting right to work, that means don't think too much about routines or rituals, right, and stuff. Just get down straight to work, right? and no meetings until noon, right? That means no interruptions, right? And simply fully focus work. So for example, for me, right, I usually, my first half of the day, right, I do not take meetings, right, before 2 p.m. except for every Wednesday when it's my client coaching call at 12 p.m. right, which is one of the many calls we offer for our clients, right? So so that's what you can do. All right, so all you do is set your goal for the day, and only after your fully focused work, right, then you can set your admin operational stuff, right, your meetings, so on and so forth. And if some stuff, yeah, on some level it is, right, but it's all about what your goals are at the end of the day, right, and what are the prices you're willing to pay to get there, right? So there are many times, right, that I'm getting clients who say they're willing to take the action, but in the end they are not. Then I'm like, are you sure, right? And so some people say that they want the goals, but some people don't really mean it, right? So again, it's easy, right? Everybody will have already done. Okay, so so this is the final portion, right? The final lesson, right, which I'm going to apply to my own self, right? I've been planning for my business, which is his checklist, right? So what it does, right, is number one, right, pick that type engaged lead to get, right, on every day, right? So is it customers, affiliates, employees, or agencies? Pick the rule of 100 or open of goal, right? So commit to your daily advertising action. Is it the rule of 100, like the 100 minutes or 100 reach outs? Open the goal. That means whatever goal that you set yourself to, right? And then you can fill up the advertising checklist for the daily action. Right, you can use it over here, and you can once and every day if you set your mind to it, right, then you can guarantee if you do it for 100 days, you're gonna get a lot more leads than ever, right? So do this daily action until you have enough money to afford paying someone else to do it, right? And my tip is, right, because having enough money is very vague, right? So try to establish the amount of money you want to have in your bank account before you decide to hire. This way you are clear about exactly what your goals are, because if not, many business owners and side hustlers, right, tend to feel that they never have enough and take a long time to take the next step. All right, so next thing, so when you do, right, go to step 1, make employees your new target lead type, and repeat steps 1 to 4 until you have the help you need, right, and then you scale again. Okay, all right, so conclusion, right, I hope you enjoyed my personal insights and observations for the entire 100 million lead system, right? If any, you can drop me a DM or drop me a comment on my post to ask my deeper thoughts of it. If you want to, I'll be happy to answer. I reply, right, most of my comments, right? There's a final thing I'll leave you with, right, is to just choose 3 actions based on this entire video. They can take, I mean, you can read the book, right, the course as you want, or if you want to move a bit faster, you can just use whatever notes I shared and just apply it immediately, right? And then schedule it on your calendar. Alright, so above sounds a bit overwhelming, right? Of course, you can register for my masterclass I mentioned, right? Where I show a live demonstration of how only my clients and I were able to achieve high income sales with less time effort, but do in a way where we enjoy our lives and work too. So you can always check out the masterclass, or right, if you want to fast your entire program progress, we do offer complimentary coaching calls, right, for free, right? Where you can click here for more, click there for more details. And during the call, right, we'll help you to develop a custom game plan to grow. And hey, only if you feel the right fit, and only if I get your permission, right? My team can share with you more about the program, right? And a 100% ROI money back guarantee, right? Which means you do not pay if you do not get results, right? If not, I do hope you enjoy this entire video, right? I'll see you very soon, right? And yeah, all right. I hope please take action, right? And I'll see you guys in our next video.